Thank you for coming here today and being very brave to come and tell the story. I'd like you to first introduce yourselves to my audience so that they know who you are and we can get into your story.
My name is Toos from the family Nijenhuis. And I live in Holland. I'm 54 years old. I have 5 children, and I've a very bad story.
Okay, we'll start from the beginning.
Yeah. When I was 4 years old, I'm the oldest one from the whole family, and it's a church ritual from what is in the Bible. The first one should be offered to God. And that was what they did to me when I was 4 years old, although I'm sitting here. It was in February, and my mother told me there was a meeting with my family in the farmhouse of my grandparents, and we went there, and she said it will be a kind of game, and we will first give you a bath, and then afterwards we will play a game. When we arrived there, it was not in the kitchen, but there is a bigger, nicer room, and all my aunts and uncle, not the uncles who, it was only the small family, the sisters from my mother.
Immediate family, yeah.
And my grandfather and grandmother were there, and the
vicar.
The vicar. He did also come in, and my mother had already undone my clothes, so I was naked, and she put a towel around me. And then they were singing church songs with the whole family, and the figure, he gave me in my neck so that I was a little bit unconsciousness, dizzy. And then they put me on my stomach on the table, and the vicar, he put his fingers in my vagina, and it was bleeding. And then my grandfather did it, not with his fingers, but with his penis, and all they were singing it. And then my uncle did the same, and it took an hour before they were already in the hole. It was a blanket, a white blanket where I was on laying, but it was totally red. And then, after that was done, they put me in the bath. There was a small bath with warm water, and then my mother bathed me again. My grandfather, he paid the figure for this holy sacrificing thing, and I was
broken.
Then my mother put my clothes on me, and we went with the vicar in his car to our home. And my mother brought me to my bed, and the doctor came to give me some pain-relieving pills, or morphine. And I was a few days in bed. And afterwards, I had to go more than once a week to my grandfather's house to let myself abuse by him. And then he raped me, and my uncle did the same to me, and sometimes it was in the bedroom, sometimes it was in where the cows were.
Who were your grandpa and uncle and all of them connected to that they were involved in this ritualistic rape and abuse? What is the connection? Is it like a Freemasons or cult or satanic organization?
For me, it's from the church, and yeah, it's.
I'm sorry, which church?
Protestants have formed, Netherlands have formed church. And they sell.
The Dutch Reformers.
Ja, de Nederlandse gereformeerde kerk.
No, not gereformeerd. Hervormd is another.
Hervormd.
Yeah, but it's nearly the same. It's not so different.
Okay. So the Dutch Reformed Church, which initially was Protestant.
Did you said the vicar who was present at the ceremony, how did you know he was the vicar? Were they calling him by that name, or did you recognize him, or?
I know it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. You used to go to your grandpa once a week. He used to rape and abuse you. Take it from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I was 5 years old, I had to bring my the younger sister, she's 1 year younger than I am, also to my grandparents, and I had to see what he did to her, also the same what he did to me, and I couldn't help it. I could do nothing. Trying to bring you, to put you in a position that you are unable to do things, and to make your
Feel guilty.
Yeah, feel guilty. And after a time, when I was 5 years old, the house doctor did come, who always also gave me the pills after the ritual, and he already taught my parents how to torture me with electricity. Then he bound me on the table and gave me electricity through my fingers or hands and feet, and afterwards, when that was done, I was always naked. He stimulated the clitoris to give me a clitoral orgasm. So torturing and orgasm should go together. And that was, he came 3 times to teach my parents that, and it was my mother who had to do it.
So your mother used to give you an orgasm,
Yeah.
stimulate you.
Yeah.
Your mother was sexually abusing you too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she did it not only with her fingers but also with her tongue. that was also 4 years ago that I saw those pictures back from her, but I couldn't get a connection with all those other things that came last years. But, and after the 3 times that the doctor did that to me, he also sexually abused me with his, or he penetrated me with his penis. Then, but I wasn't always willing to my mother, and once I refused the whole thing, and she got angry, but she could not do the things with me that day. And then my father came home after working, and she told him what I did, that it didn't function that day. And then after we had dinner, and my sister was in bed, he bumped me on the table and he gave me so much electricity. It was nearly too much. My mother told him to stop it. And he stopped it when I was nearly dead. And he brought me up to my bedroom. My bed was totally... And there he raped me. It was so much.
Do you need a break? You okay? Do you need to stop for a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
But all the things, they were totally... And I always thought my father was a good friend of mine. But I was scared for him. But 2 years ago, I was telling him, or I wrote a letter to him. I didn't know everything he did to me, but I knew some things, and I gave it him to read it, and he said no, I didn't do it. No. And then I told him, but you tried to kiss with a tongue my oldest daughter. And then he says, ouch, you outed it, out here. And then I knew, and then I saw also the thing where I was in my earlier younger days so afraid of, because he's satanic.
Right, let's take it back to your childhood. How long did this go on for? And let's talk a little bit more about the details of where these things happened.
What I told you already, my mother trained me, and it was a training for the Freemasons, it's an examination, a kind of examination, if they will come through or not, if they are really pedophile or...
So it's initiation, you
Yeah.
mean? Okay.
And that was at about 5-6 kilometers from our home. There was a small castle in the wood, in the forest, and they brought me there when I was 6 years old. And there, but before that happened, my father sold me to the director from the factory where he was working and to the house doctor where they worked together. We had it when I was 6 years old. We had not a shower at home for washing ourselves. We had a kind of small
Basin.
yeah, and there we were washed in. But in his factory there was a shower, and on Saturday he took me there. But I only knew the shower and nothing more. So there did happen more, but I didn't know it anymore. And then there was another room nearby. There was a small massage couch or an examination from the doctor. So, and there I got something to drink, so I didn't know anything exactly, or to be willing to do.
Drugged you.
Yeah.
What is do you remember the names of people? The names of the
The
doctors?
house doctor, he was Dr. Wiedek, and the director, I don't know. The vicar was Israel, Dominic Israel.
Dominic
Israel.
The vicar or pastor or priest, Israel, Reverend Israel, be called. Let's talk about the castle in the forest.
The house doctor, he was the one who took me there, and it was there was a tower, and in the tower it was a round tower. There was a kind of bed, I was bound on it naked. And the doctor, he was there were men or persons in white clothes or white blankets. They had covered, that covered their naked body, and with caps like this, and only a hole here. But only the doctor, he was like a bok with horns. But for me it was a bok, but probably also a devil. I don't know, but I always say he was the bok. And he was not in white, he was in brown. He was not white. And they went in a circle around me, walking.
It's because the tower's round, so
Yeah.
around the wall in a procession.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then he put een ooievaarsdek.
Okay.
Supposed to speak.
That thing you put into when you go to the gynecologist, the
Yeah.
cold metal duck looking thing. Yeah.
How do you call it?
We call it a duck.
A duck. He put a duck in my vagina, and then he stimulated the clitoris. So there I got an orgasm. And the one who couldn't have, or who didn't get an erection, fell down there was somewhere there was one hole in the circle, and then that hole went open and he fell out through it. And during that falling, how it was exactly done, I don't know. But the man got out of his hole.
Okay, so because he didn't get an erection, looking at you having this done to you, they cut off his penis and threw him down a hole.
Yeah.
Okay, what happened to him?
Sorry, how exactly did that happen? How did they cut it off, and who cut it off?
I don't know exactly how it was
It was
done.
with a rope.
Yeah, they had a
They had
rope.
something. Yeah.
There was a rope on there, but how exactly? There was a certain system that if they didn't get an erection,
And the fall?
By the fall, it was,
Pulled off.
yeah.
Pulled off,
Yeah, it is. But to me, it sounds terrible. It was terrible, but to me it wasn't not that terrible because I had such terrible things already before because my parents did. There was no one, only the doctor who was kind to me because I had to work with him together to cooperate. And it sounds, how can you, but if I didn't cooperate, and when the circle was going on, when the men were moving, the book and me, we had eye contact and we knew who was going. We after I've done that work for 4 years, during 4 years, till my 10th birthday, or till I was 10. And it is.
So, are there a lot of these castles here in Holland where this goes on?
I'm not in it anymore, so I cannot say it. I don't know.
Do you remember where they are?
I think they are still in that system, or there are still those systems to test the upper class of the Freemasons.
I mean the place's castle where you were abused. Do you know where it is?
Yes, I know it. I have exactly. I know it
Okay.
where it is, and I know that did happen much more.
Okay.
There are.
Did you ever go outside of Holland to different places? Were you taken anywhere?
Yes, I know all the places, or a lot of places where I was taken, and not only in Holland.
Where else?
But I will. This story is not finished.
Okay, keep going.
For me, that was the story with the house doctor, because he told me I was a kind girl and he loved me, so that was his way to make me cooperate or to work with him. And because I didn't have anyone who I could rely on and who was there for me, and he gave me the pills for not feeling so much pain. It was, and that night we slept together, and he put the arm around me.
Yeah.
So we worked together, and when that man was falling down in a kind of cellar, afterwards he was dead. And then the whole group of men went down the stairs. Not me, but later the doctor, he showed me the whole system, how it functioned. It was as if you were
Companions, lovers. How old were you?
It was from my sixth till my 10th year.
So you were
4
his
years.
child lover.
Yeah.
Okay. And you thought he was your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very strange.
No.
But there's still a feeling for him, and it's
Is he still alive?
no, he died in a very bad, strange. But that comes because it's. I have always the idea that it's because of the whole story what come afterwards.
Interesting. Okay. All right, carry on.
So they went downstairs, and they are the men. They had to do necrophilia with that dead body.
This is the one who got his.
Mm-hmm.
So the other men had to do that with him. Oh.
What did they do exactly?
To penetrate him.
Anally?
I'm sorry.
Like, from behind? Yeah, yeah. It's okay. Relax.
Did they when they did you watch it happen, or did the doctor tell you?
It's strange, but I've seen it.
When they, I just have one other question about that. When they were doing that, were they saying anything while they were doing it, or were they just doing it?
Saying, I don't know. I cannot say it. For me, it was silent. It was not with.
Was there ever in these rituals any kind of chanting or verse read, or was it just a pure act?
Pure act.
Okay. All right.
And then the one who didn't come through that act or could not penetrate had to come to me again, because then I was upstairs, or they put a cross knife in my the doctor did it, the bok or the devil, in my vagina.
So was it pointing down, out? Not inside, it was pointing out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, it was in.
Yeah, it was inside. The knife was.
The knife was also, but it was a
I'm
special
asking
thing.
the
It was not for
direction.
me painful. It was for the.
Okay. What I'm trying to ask is the direction. Did the handle go in first or the blade?
No, the blade was out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a handle,
Darwin
it
did
was a
that.
tool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was not to give me pain. It was to make the penis from me.
Okay. Just so we can clarify. So the man who didn't want to penetrate necrophilia had to then come to you.
Yeah.
You had a blade inside of you. And what happened?
He had to penetrate me again, and that gave that his penis was splitting up.
Did he know what he was doing? Did they tell? Okay. Oh goodness. That's terrible.
On a break. Stop. Okay.
You're doing very well. Okay?
Do you want water?
Can I get something to drink?
Do you want some juice?
I thought,
It's a tough story, eh? You're very brave telling it, I must be honest. It's one of the toughest I've had to listen to.
When it came out, it was very detailed.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult to.
It's all right. It's all right.
Secondly,
You're doing so well. You ready? So you're in this relationship with the doctor. Let's talk a bit more.
because those examinations from the Freemasons, that was not very often, but it was once a year, or I don't know. It didn't take place every week. But the doctor, well, my father, he showed me more often to the doctor, and he took me to different places in Holland. He brought me to nearby Almelo. There was also a torturing center. It was a house, and there were different. It was a corridor, and then there were different rooms in it, and there I was also tortured with electricity. It was very often electricity what they put on me, and not only on my feet or my fingers, but also on my clitoris. That was very often, or in the vagina. Or sometimes they hit me with a wooden on the feet. And afterwards, and it were men in black. They were masked. They wore a mask. Not always, but also a black suit, not a cape or sometimes a cape. It was, and then there were 2 or 3 men normally. But it was always the doctor. He was with them. But I didn't know it. I didn't know that he was one of the torturers at that time. When the torturing and the raping was over, they brought me to another room, and there was the doctor who gave me some morphine, more other things to relieve the pain. And that did happen in different places, also in the south of Holland, in Limburg. There was in IJs a small castle where they brought me, and there were more men together, and they put me naked on a table to play with me, and afterwards they brought me to a torturing room where I was also tortured, and there were also.
Were the other children involved?
No, I would like this. It was not only the torturing, and it was not only men who raped me, but also in IJs it was also a dog who raped me.
Sorry?
A dog.
Dog.
And on the castle where the Freemasons examination was, they were also, it was in the forest, they had some hunting, they hunted, I would like to say us. There were more, me and also my sister, and there were more, but it was at night, it was dark.
What did they do exactly on the hunting?
What I remember, I was naked and it was cold, and there was on my feet, I put my feet in a clam so I couldn't go on any longer.
I'm sorry, on a what?
Like a bear trap, a clamp.
Like you had a trap around you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And it was hunting with dogs, not with a gun, but it was, and they were on horses. It was with Prince Bernhard.
I'm sorry.
Prince Bernhard, the former
And
king of...
Cardinal Alfring.
Cardinal.
Alfring.
How do you spell that?
A-L.
A-L?
F.
F.
R-E-N-K.
R-I-N-K.
He was a Catholic cardinal?
Yes. Yeah.
And the Prince Bernhard.
Yeah, Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, the man who set up Bilderberg. And the World Wildlife Federation.
How old were you when this happened? The hunting?
At about 9, 10 years old, 7. During that whole period it happened. And it was not only in that forest, but they put the dogs to hunt us. And then when you could not go on, and there was that clam around my feet, the dogs, they raped us, and they were laughing and putting jokes on me.
How many men did this?
What I know or what I see is 2 men, but probably there were more, I don't know.
Were there other children involved? Were you the only child, or was the others with you?
I know that I heard crying or screaming, and it was my sister, and she didn't take part afterwards on those hunting parties. But with me, they took me to England, Wales, Scotland.
Who took you?
The doctor.
I'm sorry, hunting parties in Wales and
In Carnarvon Castle and in nearby Fort Williams in Scotland.
Did you see the Cardinal or the Prince in Scotland and Wales too, or were there other people?
In Scotland there was Menachem Mendel Sneerson, the upper rabbi of the Jewish people.
Could you spell that?
Menachem
Yeah.
Mendel
Mendel Sneerson.
Sneerson.
Should write down for us, if you don't mind.
Okay, we can look, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin, for taking the notes. Okay. Carry on.
And in Carnarvon, they hunted in the castle, in the corridors or in the gangen, hoe noem je dat?
Corridors.
Ja.
Hallways.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh. In the castle? That's interesting.
And nearby Fort Williams, that was terrible. That was horrible. It was not only hunting, there was a special water basin in a huge building.
Oh, sorry, what was it again?
A water basin.
Oh, water basin.
Basin.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was a kind of apparaat boven.
An appliance.
Yeah. And they bound me there, naked. My arms like this and my feet like this, and there was an iron
Bar.
an iron bar. And first they put me right up, and then let me slowly down in the water and put electricity on the water. So, and then they put electricity on and on. And afterwards, they took me up and then turned me up. They put me with my head on the water. They like to see you struggle. But that was not everything. Then they put my whole body, they took me and put me in the water basin till here, and then they turned on the electricity till I couldn't breathe anymore. I was dead. They took me out and I lay on the ground as if I was dead. That was with my doctor, with Sneerson and Lord Mountbatten.
Lord Mountbatten. Okay.
Did you, at the time you couldn't know who they were, but you recognized them later? Is that how you know them?
When I see a picture, I feel it.
Yeah.
You can lay a lot of pictures, and I say no, that is not him. With him, I have nothing to do.
Yeah.
And another, I know it is one of them, and
Right.
it is my body.
Oh, I know.
The Queen's husband, the Queen of England's husband, is a Mountbatten.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Prince Philip. Okay. All right, carry on.
But there was more there. There was, like in the Avatar, you have in the film, you have the people go in a kind of glass coffin, and then they go to another time, or another, they turn in another. You know the film Avatar?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you see if they go in a glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A glass chamber.
Yeah.
No,
Then you go to another place and another time, or you turn in another.
This happened to you?
Not exactly, but they put some. They put me in such a thing, or it's like that, but you get something on your head and it's not, it doesn't hurt, but it gives a feeling. I know that at that time I thought I would not let me change my brains but you cannot stop it. And it's also, my son tells the same stories that they do with a kind of electrode or kind of thing to make your change your rememberings or change your, I don't know exactly what it is, but it is an instrument to change your personality.
Why was that happening, do you think, to you? Why did they do that to you?
One thing is that I shouldn't remember anything to make it.
How old were you when that happened?
10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
How long was this abuse going on for?
It stopped when I was 12 years old, but I can tell the whole story, so then
Yeah, sure, carry on.
You hear also the end.
can we make a short break?
When you're ready, you can carry on.
Yes, I already told about the water basin where they put me in, and afterwards I was nearly dead. But I was several times there, or it was at the same time, I don't know, but they bound me also on a table and put needles under my fingernails. It was, and not only on my nails, but also, or not only my fingers, it was also on my toes.
What was the point of doing that? Was it to keep you...
It was, they like to see your, that you cannot go away and to move, but you cannot scream because they put always something in your mouth or tape to over your mouth.
Were they studying you? Were there people taking notes, or were they just doing this?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know that, but that will come in Melbourne. They filmed everything. They filmed the torturing, and there is a secret room where they hide their films. But here I don't know. I only know what they did to me.
Okay.
Right.
When I was at about 10 years old, well, although in Scotland there was also hunting, and there was hunting with more children they just terrible.
What happened to the children? Were they ever caught and killed?
They were killed, and also on the Stringenberg, where I first had where I was talking about hunting. The children who are killed sometimes what they do the same with when they hunt on rabbits or animals, they eat them. They do the thing.
Did you ever see them kill the children and eat them? You actually see it?
I have to.
Tell us a bit
Or
more.
they give it to the dogs, or both.
Why were you never caught and killed?
I don't know. I have no protector, I think. My lover.
What is
I
your
don't
blood?
know. It's he was. When I was 10 years old, I suddenly became aware, and it was in near, not so far away from where I lived. He and the bishop from Munster tortured me during an evening. They were all in black. They were both in black and had only, or they wore a mask, but I saw only their eyes. And after torturing, there was my doctor again, but I saw that he had worn also a mask. There was the pressure from the mask on his face. So I got such a great shock that he was one of the torturing men. I could not love him, and I could not have him. I had sex with him, but not the way it was before. Before I had the idea he was my lover. And he wasn't.
Do you mind if I ask you about the children who were killed during the hunting? How were they killed? Most of the times I was apart. They hunted me, but only with the dogs, Okay.
not with.
Did they use guns when they were hunting the other children, or any weapon?
I cannot give an answer. I only know that there were children who we had to eat, or who were.
They were dead children. You saw they were dead. And
That was only part of the child, what you saw. I didn't see them, the whole part. I knew that it was from a child.
Okay.
So you were forced to eat child meat. How old were you?
It was all at the same time, at
Yeah.
9, 10, 11. You can't imagine.
This was in Fort William, in Scotland,
There was also hunting,
in Fort William.
or nearby Fort William. There was torturing, there was the electricity, there was the hunting. I was talking about that mask. That the doctor was not any longer my lover. And that made, for me, the whole thing more worse. Because he tried to get my love again. He was not used to have love, not have to have the warmth of one who loved him. It's a very isolated life they live, and very cold life they live. when I was 6 years old, I would always go to Jesus. It has been a very long time that I have that intention. Go to Jesus and be as Jesus, helping people. Also love your enemy. I remember a scene where it was with Sneerson, who had also tortured me, and then he had sex with me, and I put an arm around him. It was, I felt his lonely life and his, sometimes it were very strange situations, and I don't know, probably is that also why I survived. I don't know. It's yeah. But with the doctor, I don't know when for me again I loved him, because at the end there was a loving feeling to each other again, and not only from him to me. But the Cardinal Alfrink, the bishop from Utrecht, he became aware that Dr. Riedijk loved me, and that was a thing he could not, he was jealous that someone has a warming feeling, and they could not handle it. So I was tortured very badly afterwards, after he became aware that there was a relation between the doctor and me. They brought me to the south of Germany. There are 2 castles from the kings, kings of Bayern, and Hohenschwangau is one of it.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Hohenschwangau.
Hohenschwangau
is a great castle in the south of Germany. And there were different bishops from that part of the country. And there was also the Pope, Pope Johannes II.
John Paul II.
Yeah.
The Polish Pope.
Yeah. And Sneerson, Menachem Mendel Sneerson, and my daughter.
I'm sorry, is that near Munich? This castle near Munich?
This was
Near München.
near München.
Mhm.
Füssen. Füssen is it is 2 kilometers from Füssen away. It's totally to the Austrian border.
Ratzinger was from Munich. So,
I knowing every name, I only knew of him.
mhm.
And also the bishop from Munster was there.
So it's all bishops. You've got all bishops, and the Pope.
Bishops and the Pope and
Was it
the
Pope
upper rabbin, the rabbin, the upper rabbin. That was
Jewish rabbinical upper rabbis. Okay,
that was Sneerson.
that's interesting. All together.
Yeah, all together.
Okay.
It's,
What were they doing?
they were. I always was naked, and they put jokes on me. They tortured me again. Sneerson, he urinated on me. I had to drink his urine. Once he put me on a table naked, on my hands and my knees, and then there was something, I don't know exactly what it was. He put it on my mouth like this, so he could took me backwards, and then he put his hands in my vagina. So I could not. It was here.
This was the, who was that again? Sorry. Who did that again?
Sneerson.
Sneerson.
What about the Pope? Was there anything he did? Do you
They
recall?
all raped me. It was not one of them who didn't do anything. They did it all.
Did they all torture you as well?
No.
So did they take turns together in a group, or was it one by one?
No, it was a group.
Okay.
And then they put jokes on me and
Sorry, put what on you?
Jokes.
jokes.
Teased her. They taunt her.
Okay.
You are nothing for them.
Yeah.
Only a toy. And they like to see you suffer. The more the better. On another place in Germany, also in the south, it was not always with electricity. They put me in a place where mieren,
Ants.
ants.
Yeah.
I was on a chair and it was with snakes and with ants and all terrible things to make you. Another time, they took me to Saudi Arabia. Daar nearby, there was and I first thought it is not so bad. There were more children, but I had to go to a separate room. And there also Sneerson was there, Kardinaal Frank, and Dr. Riedek. He was always there. He was always with me. I was naked, and there was a table, and those three men, Sneerson was in the middle. There was Kardinaal Alfrink, but he had also another name. I know that it was with an A, his first name, and Felipe Bisleveld was his family name. And there was Dr. Riedek. Then Sneerson, Riedek, he told me that he had told me that I had to do all the things they asked me, so I should not suffer so very much. It was very bad. I had to make a
Bow down.
I had to bow down, and Sneerson, he went behind me, put his finger in my vagina, and he turned me on the ground, and then he urinated on me and cocked on me. And it was always, you're nothing, you're nothing. And it was in 5 times that day, or 5 days that they had, during the day they had meetings, those men. They had other things to do, and in the evening I was their toy to play with. Then normally I was alone, there were no other children.
Did they have you in like a cell? Where were you kept?
No, it was not a cell. It was a room like this, and there was a bed, and it was not. When they were not there, it was not so bad.
When you're in Saudi Arabia, the other children, were they Arab children or other? What kind of ethnic children were they?
I've only seen children, and then I went through that room, but I don't know what. No, but they were not from Africa. They were not black.
They were white children?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask, what blood type are you?
What blood type?
Yes, do you know? AB negative?
I'm the most...
Yes, just out of interest.
Wat is het meest normale?
Het meest normaal is ook positief.
Ja, dat ben ik. Nee, wel. Ik heb een afraad.
Nee, AP negatief en AP positief,
Nee.
dat zijn echt de hele vreemde.
Nee.
Maar ook positief voor half de wereld.
It's significant. It could be significant as to why you survived. So I'd like to know if you could find that out for me, please.
I think, or for me, it was because of the doctor.
Okay.
And also Sneerson, although it is very, you cannot imagine that but at the end, when I was in Melbourne, he sent me there, Sneerson, but he also was the one who told the others that I should have to survive, so they were not allowed to kill me.
What was special about you that they were not allowed to kill you? Do you know?
It's very, very old. It's not from this life.
Okay. Right.
That is what when you ask me now, that's my answer.
Makes sense. Okay. Carry on with that.
And it will come.
Okay. All right. Carry on when you're ready.
I was in Saudi Arabia, and it was every night torturing. They give electricity to my clitoris, to my vagina, to my hands and feet, and I was bound, and they penetrated anal, vaginal. It was.
How long were you in Saudi Arabia?
I was there 2 times, but once I was there for 5 days. And the last torturing, it was very, very terrible, because it was with electricity. I was they hanged me on my ankles and my wrist. So, and they tore me out. So and they put electricity on me. So it was a cramp from my muscles to come like this, and it was. And then when I was unconscious, they let me fall on the ground, and then I didn't breathe anymore. It was so.
How did you survive?
I don't know. every time I went to breathe again. But there is, the last story is, there was the drill, yeah. And I would like to have it. It would be my going to Christ. It wasn't. Saudi Arabia was very bad. It was in the night I was with das Riedijk, and during the evening or when we slept, sometimes Nielsen took me, and then there was a torture in the night.
Yeah, but maybe it's good to tell that Riedijk had to watch what happens.
Yeah, the last time, before that, that's very bad with the tearing me out and giving me the electricity. The time before, he had to hit me with a wipe and to give me also with a stick electricity. Although I was bounded and I could not, and the others they raped me. It was. And that last time when I was hung on my wrists and ankles, and with that electricity, Riedijk, it was to pay him back what he have with me, hoe zeg je, afrekenen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I saw his tears in his eyes when they did it to me. He could not stand it also, that they did, he also did bad things to me. But that was too much. Then another time they brought me to Saudi Arabia. And then I was brought to the desert. There was a pipe or a hole in the ground. And Riedijk. It was with Neersen, and again with Alfrink, and with Riedijk. Those three men again in front of me. And Riedijk, he had to let me in that pipe till here, and then sand in the pipe. So I could not move, I could not.
Is your head above the ground?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was also to pay him back that he had to do that. If he didn't do it, they would kill me. If he did it, it probably killed me. There was no way out. And Alfrink, he pissed on me, and I opened my mouth. So I had a little bit more to survive. About 3 hours. A man came. He was sent from Riedijk to bring him back. And he took me out of the desert.
Take a break.
do you spell that castle? The name of the castle in South Germany. It started with an H.
I don't really know. Sorry.
Schwangau.
The name of the castle in
Schwangau.
Schwan?
Nee, dat is Schwangau. En wij
Yeah.
Hoorn Schwangau.
Hohenschwang, okay. And that's where you saw the Pope and all those
Yeah.
others?
Yeah.
That's the name of the castle? Okay.
Maybe just to tell the story how we discovered that it was there. Because
Yes, we were on holiday last year in South Germany, and there are very famous castles from all over the world. They come to see those castles. Millions of people, and if you know what happened there, it's a little bit. Yeah. But when we came there, I although 4 years ago I was there and it didn't trigger me, but now, and there are two castles near to each other, and the one I say no, I've never been there, but in Hohenschwangau I was. And when we were there, it was from one side we did come to the entrance, and I told Kasper, there's another entrance. You can go so, and there is the cellar, and you
from
can.
the back you can.
Yeah. And
this
when we
road.
took the other way, it was the way I told him already how it was. But and I didn't have a very good holiday, or no, because I didn't sleep at night, and I had a lot of stomach pain. And 1 week afterwards, I had a place on my back, as if one put a burning cigar on my back. It was burning.
Burning spot.
Yeah, it was red, and it felt as if one did it to me, and afterwards a big korst,
Scarf.
a big scarf.
It healed out.
Yeah.
Right, let's go back a bit to where you were as a child at this castle, Saudi Arabia. How old are we? Where are we in your timeline? What age are you now?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm-
No, I mean
No,
in the story.
In the story, I'm 11 years old.
Still 11. Okay.
Yeah.
In Saudi
Alright.
Arabia?
Yeah.
Okay.
So how many more years did this abuse go on for after 11?
At 12, it stopped.
Stopped. Why?
Because I once go to that doctor's house. He is in our town, our village, and I sometimes used to go there to be tortured and have love with him. But
You went by yourself, out of your own
or
free
I
will?
was asked, I don't know exactly. But there is and it's also on the paper, there is a secret room in that house, especially built for such things. And I was there, and I told him, if you love me, then don't torture me anymore. And if you don't love me, then kill me. I cannot go further this way. It's too much. And he didn't torture me. And he didn't kill me. But we had love.
Did what happened to him when he decided not to push you anymore? Did anything happen to him as a result?
It was the last time we met. And could not. At the last 2 years, he could not do the work he did before. There was a change in him. I know also another man as a torturing man. He is not only that man, he's also brought to it. I know also a man who loved me. Half a year ago, I said to Kasper, that Riedek is still inside of my heart. It's strange, but it is the way it is. I know that there go very strange stories in the village about this man. At the end of that he lived in that village, he left at 1972, and he was a house doctor, and he went to another part of Holland to become a firma doctor, or and that's a lower degree, and he was at that time, or he lost also one of his children. It was by an accident, but I have to question if it was an accident. I think they put a lot of pressure on him, and he was drinking a lot of alcohol also at the last part of that he was in the village.
Sorry, what is the name of that village?
Holten, H.
HOLTEN.
Okay. In Holland.
Yes.
So, and when he was the doctor for
Controlerend arts.
Yeah. Controlling physician.
Yeah.
Okay. It's head doctor. Yeah. Like a chief surgeon or surgeon general, like a head doctor. Would that be correct?
No. He is only controlling if you can go to work, or
supervisor. Supervisor.
No, he's the guy that controls whether he can be fit to work or not. He's the arborist.
Okay.
But it's a lower degree as a house doctor. So they put it a little bit more aside. And after a few years, there was in the paper, it was in the national paper, that there was a doctor killed by one of his patients. They shoot or they put him with a knife, died. But it was a very strange story. And
is that how he died? That he was killed by a...
I don't know.
That
is what is in the paper, and also what's told in the village.
What year was that he died?
2 years later.
He didn't live any, not for a long time anymore. I don't know exactly the year.
So that would have been in the 1970s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the patient didn't kill him, or did?
I was not there. I don't know. If I haven't seen it, I cannot say. It's what the paper said.
So the paper said that he was killed by a patient.
Okay.
Interesting. Do we know who the patient is? What did they say?
From abroad, someone, not from Holland.
Oh, right. Interesting.
And now what you said about 2 years after, so
2 years after, he went from that village away.
So about
and he went to another part. He went to Leende.
Okay.
You're looking at about 74.
Yeah,
74, 75, look at the chronology.
Wow. Gee.
But after our relation was over, that Alfring, he was was still jealous. And he and Sneerson, they sent me to Melbourne, to Australia.
After he died? Or
No, it was when I was 12 years old.
okay.
That was the last torture, but it was very bad.
Did you travel on your own to Melbourne, Australia?
No,
Who went with you?
Alfring.
Okay. You
And Alfring, he was a very bad man. They're all bad, but there are degrees. Riedeck was not that bad. Sneerson was and is, or was, he's also dead. He was bad, but I felt that there was, for him there was a missing thing, or he missed a lot of, he was in that cold isolation.
So Cardinal Alfring was the worst, was it most?
That was,
the
that
evil?
was nothing, totally nothing. It was not a human.
Not even a man.
No.
Think he was possessed? Maybe.
I don't know. But for him, with him, there is also in that part with the desert. Riedeck was, there was compassion, and Sneerson, he had a kind of respect for me. It was, although before he pissed and cacked on me, but it was, at that time but Alfring was nothing. There was nothing.
Cardinal, interesting. Right, so let's go to Melbourne.
Melbourne. I would like to tell about Alfring.
Yes.
It is strange, but in the airplane, and I don't know what kind of airplane it exactly was, but and how high it was when we were flying, when that thing did happen, because when we last time flew together to Norwegian, it was very bad for me, because it remembered me on the time when I flew with Alfring in an airplane, and not me, but there were children thrown out
Of the plane. So
It is.
where did they land?
This was a private plane then? Yeah.
Okay.
They always fly with pride.
Okay.
So you were flown all the time in a private plane? Okay.
Not no.
And they just threw they had children, or were they abusing them on the plane and then just throwing them out?
Oh. Sorry.
It's okay, take your time.
What I remember is that they fell down in the sea. And if it happened somewhere else, I don't know, but the sea is what I know.
Do you know why they threw the children out?
It's only a toy. There's nothing more in there. And it's nice to hear them scream and to see their fear. That's Alfring.
But from others, that is also used to make the others who are with them comply.
Yeah. Scare them.
Yeah.
No, that's that they are witness, and if they tell,
They're guilty too, so
They're
that
guilty
everybody
too.
has to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what he heard. But
Yes.
Then Melbourne.
Melbourne.
It was a huge building, and it was square. So, in my remembering, but it was dark when I came there. It is brown, but it can be also grey. It's with thick walls, so you cannot hear any scream from anyone. Well, it doesn't come through it. I had to put my clothes out, and I had to take a black leather suit on me, and then I was in a room where they bound me on my stomach on a table, and then they hit me with a wipe, isn't it?
What?
A wipe. They-
Whip.
Whip.
While you're dressed in leather on your stomach.
Okay. So you cannot see it later on. It's you feel it.
Was Alfred doing that to you?
I don't
Don't
know.
know. Okay.
There were different men. There in that room they were in black with a mask and a normal black suit, or not a cape or something like that, but dressed in black. But they wiped me, and the suit was also like only my eyes were free, and I cried and cried, and I could not breathe. It was terrible. That was an hour. And then they brought me to another room, a white room, where there was a bed. There I could recover for a while, get some drink. And then someone came to me and brought me to another room. And there I was bound on a table again. And then they put very neat or warm iron platen.
Heated iron plates.
They put heated iron plates on my feet. I could not scream, I could nothing, because they... It was always till you could not stand it anymore, or you became unconscious. Then they brought me back to that white room. They put a cream on my feet, so it was not so painful anymore, so I could walk. Then they put me again on the table, and then I was naked again, and with a intention.
Gardening hose.
Gardening
hose.
Put on my anus, into my anus, and they had water till...
Oh, good God.
That was terrible. It was... They do everything. But you don't get scars of it. It doesn't left scars. When that was over, they brought me back to that recovery room.
So sorry, you said that you were being filmed when you were there?
Yeah.
This was all being filmed?
This is all filmed.
Everything that
Yeah.
happened?
In every room is a camera.
Okay.
It is educating bunker for torturing.
So they use you.
You learn to torture there.
Torture research.
How do you know that they were teaching people?
I know it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, did they say that? Were there people in uniform? Were there people in white shirts?
Probably I hear it. Or I heard it.
Heard it?
It's they train the people there. It's to do it effectively.
Right.
And to know what is your, to
How
tell
far
how
limits.
far you can go.
Yeah.
That's just wrong.
And then they have a cellar there with water in it. It was half dark. It was very cold water. And there are wooden pillars in it, and you are bound to the pillar, so you cannot move. And there were more children in, 2 children. One was already dead, and the other one, there are ratten and rats in it, and they are hungry. And there were special fishes in it. A younger boy, or he was younger than me, the rats were eating him, and the other one was already dead. It was red water.
Was he still alive when they were eating him?
One of them was still alive.
Was he white or black or what color?
White.
Yeah. How old?
8 or 9 years. It was very cold and it was you never knew if you would survive it or not, and those rats.
Was there a camera in there too?
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't buy me. After a time I went out of it and they took me out. But it was so cold. Then the second, the fifth, is it already gone?
The which?
The fifth. There was always a torturing and then a recovering, a torturing and a recovering. Then, after the recovering, they brought me to a white, it was like an operation room. And there was like a gynaecologische bank, so die...
Gyno chair.
What? A gynecologist chair
There you go.
Yeah,
with your legs up.
yeah.
Okay.
And there I had to put my legs on the things, and then they bound my legs. And my arms also. And then I got electricity on my feet, my hands, and my vagina. And it is till I was unconscious. And then after the torturing, they brought me back to this recovery. The next torturing was, there was a water basin and I had to lay on my stomach again, and he put my head in the water till I nearly was thrown. I got water because I couldn't breathe any, or I had to breathe, but there was no air. The last, after I was recovered, then I saw a rope. There was a room. That was the room where I was first also in. The first time I was in it, and now the last time I went again in it. But the floor was not the way it was the first time. It was with fine needles. So it was your feet. You could not. They had my hands like this, and I had to walk, but it was very painful. After a while, they put my hands free, and so I could go on knees and hands. So it was not. The pressure was not the same as when I was with my whole body on my feet. And in front of me there was the rope hanging, and there was a kind of stage where I had to go up on before I can go to the rope. And I was very glad that there was a rope, because I liked to go. I went on my knees and my hands to that stage. I climbed on it, and I thought because also there were the needles, the painful things on the floor. But that rope, it was oiled, so I could not. Yeah. How you can? It's.
Why do you think the rope was there?
Then I had to put that rope around my neck, and they bound it. They till I nearly was dead, and then you are so glad if you have this rope around your neck. It sounds very silly, but it is, because there's nobody to protect you.
Right.
And they did it 3 times that way, and then it was over. It was over. I could go. Then they brought me to that white room, the recovery. I was totally. I don't know if I would have been there 3 days or shorter or longer. But then after that time, they brought me to a child hospital. And in the child hospital, there were children, but there was also me, and I don't know if those children were from the same torturing as what I was, or if they from Melbourne. I don't know.
The hospital was in Melbourne?
Or nearby. It was there. And at a certain time, a man that came in. He was a man from a lion club or a round table, such kind of group. And he was
Sorry,
giving
I didn't hear that. He was from a what?
lion club or a round table club. So
Lions Club or Round Table. You know Rotary?
Rotary.
Oh, Rotary.
Yeah.
How do you know? Would he have a button? Or
No, but he was. He gave presents to the children. So.
Rotary, Lions Club and Round Table are all related to Bilderberg and all of that. It's all cover organizations for networking cults.
And his name was Kennedy. And he was one of the men who I've saw, or who I heard his voice also in the bunker, in the torture room.
Who's that? How old was he?
How old he was?
Middle-aged?
I was young, so it's
Yeah.
45 or 40.
Yeah.
And then I was brought back home. And it was
Okay, so you've come out of this thing at 12 years old,
yes.
all right? Let's talk a little bit about how the period coming out, how you recovered, how you've dealt with this as a teenager. Did you suppress it? Were you aware of it through your whole life? Has this just come out recently in your mind? Let's talk a bit about that.
It was all gone. It was not. I was not aware of all those things when I was after I was out of it. Because also 1 or 2 years later, I saw that doctor with another woman in the woods, in the forest walking. Was nothing. No feelings. It was say goodbye and nothing else. But when I was 12 years old, the doctor, I cannot prove it, but for me he paid my father to keep me out of the whole scene. He would protect me. That's why I did come out. And it's still a feeling for that man.
And your brothers and sisters and mother, are they in this?
I have one sister. She's what I now hear from my two youngest children. She's still in it and is doing things with my children.
Doing things to them?
Yeah, for torturing and also sexual things.
So she was abused with you, and now she's become an abuser.
Yeah.
Okay. So, your kids are in it?
One and a half year ago, Carmen, this is the youngest one, and she's not the same father as the other four have. But she would always, after my divorce, she was not at that time because she's born after.
You got 5 children.
I've got 5 children. And she's 5 years younger than the youngest one from my ex-husband. After the divorce, my ex-husband tried to keep me in the town where we were living in, and I thought that it was because he would have his whole family together. Although if there were problems with the children or going to school or all those things, it was always my work and he did only his thing and that was it. But after the divorce, it was as if he was, or he told with social workers and with
Child Protection Services.
Yeah. And tried to keep me there, and he started a court case against me to get the children back in his house. And there was a child protection service to do an investigation if I was a good mother, and because of German medicine they tried to get my children away from me because I should not go to a doctor when they were ill or something like that. But now 1 week ago I read the report from the child service investigator,
Child Protection Services.
and there he said after a few months when because they also did an investigation in how he was functioning, and that was not what he would like to have. So then he, if all things were settled and he saw that I didn't went away, then he said to the child's
protection
service that it could stop, that he would not go on with the court case against me. And if they asked him afterwards if the children were often ill, or if they had to go to a doctor, or if he did, no, they were always healthy and there was no doctor's help needed. So it was only to keep the children there. And now what Carmen told me 1.5 years ago, and still things are coming, that he was sexually abusing them. I'd never thought, because I thought that I was the one who had problems on sexual things. I couldn't feel anything with sex. I was cold, and that was, for me, when I had sex with my ex-husband or later with another man, there was no feeling, and an orgasm was only when I was having a fantasy with the system I came out of. Only I didn't know it exactly, but I could only have an orgasm if I was thinking on raping and people looking at me. So it was very perverse. Now I can tell it, I'm out of it, and I don't need those bad fantasies.
That's it.
No, that is one part of why I thought I was guilty. Yeah, I was not a real woman. I didn't feel a real woman, and it was always one of my I have special purposes in my life. One of my purposes to be a whole a woman, totally, and not parts not functioning. And
let's talk a bit about your husbands. How were they involved, and how did your kids sort of get dragged into this?
my husband, I was
Well, the first or second husband?
the first husband. Yeah. I was playing the organ in the Catholic church in another small village nearby where we lived, and he was also one of the young men who went to the church, and he was doing some work in the church as not a priest, but reading things from the Bible if the priest was not there. We did ride on horseback, and that was also his hobby. I was a cyclist. He did also cycling. So there were so a lot of things where we met each other, and so we came together. But it was not my great love.
But he was also a family friend.
He was, yes, first he was with my sister, it was my sister's boyfriend. And then she finished, and after a while he came.
Well, do you tell from your first friend? Did you feel it?
This is the sister who went on to become an abuser.
Yeah.
It was her boyfriend first.
Yeah.
Was this church under the control of the Cardinal Elfrink?
It was.
Yes.
Good question, Kevin.
Okay.
So that's where the connection is.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was
What?
through the church connections again, and that's how the children got dragged into it. Is through the ex-husband. He sold your kids into this without your knowledge.
How he. It was first. I don't know if he worked also in it, I think, but also my father, and I don't know in which connection they are together. It's because when you're out of it, you see, and when you see what did happen, and it's not every day, but every week nearly every week there is, oh no, I know why that is said or done, or why that person did come, and so I didn't have a camera to see all things there, so but what Casper said, my first, I thought it was my first time I had sex at 17. It was not my first time, but it was a boyfriend I was in love with, and I lived with my grandmother, the one who was also with the ritual. And then she lived, because my uncle was first living with her after my grandfather died, and they had already sold their farmhouse, and he went to a village and had their house there. My grandfather died, my uncle was there with my grandmother, but he married and she was alone, and asked if my parents would come to be and live with her, and they didn't want to, and I said I will go, and I have lived but only 1 year with her. And when I lived for a few months with her, I got a boyfriend he was living not nearby, and at the time it was too late in the evening, and he said, can I stay with you? I lost my train, and was missing my train now. Sorry. And he stayed with me, and I wouldn't have sex at that time with him, and he raped me, and therefore I felt guilty. I had always the idea, I was very naive, that I would only have sex with a man I love, but after marrying, not before. So it was, for me it was a great trauma.
And then you went to your parents.
I went afterwards.
It was also they know them also.
Because I don't know. You think it's, or if they know him, I don't know. I could not get rid of him. I wouldn't, but he always tried to keep me in his grip, and it took 2 years before that relation was over. if I think now, oh, I had so less self-awareness and.
How old were you when you met your first husband in the church?
20. But at that time I only knew him, and I was 23 years old when we got a relation.
Okay.
Because I've also lived 1 year abroad in Austria, and that was a great time. I should never have come back. And it was strange. In Austria, I've had always hair what did come out the hardest, and
There's a falling out.
yeah, and problems with my what is that, darm?
Intestines.
Digestion?
Yeah. And in Austria, no problem, nothing. And when I came back after 1 month, it was all back. So there was such a triggering on all the things. With my first husband, we married in 1985, and after 2 years, I was pregnant. In 1987, the eldest daughter was born.
That's Carmen?
No, that's Annemarie. Annemarie.
Annemarie is the
Annemarie,
oldest.
yeah.
Okay.
And after 1 year, Caroline was born. And after 2 years, Marjolein was born. And after another 2 years, Dirk-Jan was born. And Annemarie, at 4 years, when she was in the kleuterschool.
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten?
Yeah.
Yes. Kindergarten, okay. She was, there was a doctor play with another girl, and that girl put an injection, een spuitje,
Injection.
into her vagina.
With a needle.
Not with the needle, only plastic.
Syringe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because once she got very ill with very much coughing, and then I phoned Dr. Hamer from German medicine, and I told him, or I asked him, what is this, or can you help me? And that must be something what is very shocking, has been very shocking for her, would give her a lot of fear. And Caroline and Annemarie under the shower, they were looking at each other's vaginas and genitalia. And so then he told me, did something happen? I said, I don't know. And then I watched Annemarie when she was laying in bed. And every evening she was masturbating. I asked her how does it come, and she could not say it, and she told me she was thinking. I was asking her if she was thinking about special things when she was doing that, and she said yes. I'm thinking that the police is doing things with me. Strange. At that age.
What age?
And
What age was 4 years then?
It was 4 years.
She was 4 years when she was doing this.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. I was pregnant from Dirk-Jan. It was 5 years when it came out. And then I asked her what did happen. I cannot tell you, Mama. I cannot tell you. And at the end, I asked her, can you draw it? Probably were things or what did happen. And then she draw it, the places where it was. It was in school, where the dolls are, and there was a special place where she was laying on and where that girl did those things with her. And also in the houses where the girl lived, they were playing with each other more often, and then she did also those things to Anne-Marie. I asked Dr. Hammer what should I do, and he told me the best thing is that she should not see that girl anymore and put her out of that school, because at school, if they let such things happen, it was a man watching kindergarten. I don't know, but it's
Odd.
Then she went to another school, and at the beginning sometimes she saw that girl, and then she said, "Oh, it's always not the special word she used, triggering me," but then she was remembering the things, but after a while she became very ill, and for us it was a sign that she had solved her problem with that sexual thing. She could nearly breathe, she had and that is, when you knew German medicine, that is the localization in the brain where the coronary vein is located, which has to do with sexual frustration and sexual abuse. So I thought, we have solved it and it's over. But the third one, Marjolein, when I see films from Dirk Jan when he was born, she was also laying there at 2 years.
Oh my God.
And then Dr. Hammer said, then Anne-Marie must have shown it to her or done it to her. There must be. Now I don't know if it has been Anne-Marie, but it can also be my ex-husband. As I see what he has done to Carmen when she was later also with her elder sisters on his farm. So I asked Anne-Marie, have you done such things to Marjolein? Have you? No. Now I don't know. I cannot trust my own children, and I don't really know. And Caroline was always.
Maybe you tell the reaction of your husband.
Oh yeah, well he was. That was because I've put her on another school. I've been to the police. I've been to the director from this first school, to trouwenspersoon, a special person who is involved with such things when there is such a thing in a school. I've been gotten the mayor from the town to tell that such things did happen in school. I've had on paper that I have had a talk with the mayor. And Gerd, my ex-husband, he says nothing did happen. That the children do with each other. It's not. You are a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, you.
So.
And afterwards, as she and there was it was arranged that the children would be, after the divorce, the children would be 2 weeks every second weekend at his place. He was very strict in every.
Yeah.
He always was very strict with picking up the children.
Normally he didn't care very much of them, and at that time then he was always. He would like to have them more, and also during the week, a half a day, on Wednesday when you have an afternoon off. Then he was, yeah.
Was he abusing the children at the time?
I was not with them, and they will not tell me because they're still in it.
Do you think this is
I
going
think
on?
so, yes.
So your kids are still in this now. Have you tried to get them out?
We have Carmen, the youngest one. I have to tell the whole story because otherwise it goes after the divorce. Because for me it didn't function with my ex-husband, and he had a farm with pigs, and it was not my thing to have those animals kept for. He went that direction, I went that direction, so on a special time or after the time I did go to a lawyer and ask her how can I arrange a divorce or to stay with him, and also he wants to make more the farmer bigger and to invest all the money, and it's also my money, and I would not have all my life the bank in my neck. So that was also a part of the divorce, that I didn't want to have that thing behind me. And he was very angry. He was often angry. He beat me. He tore my hair out of my head. And after 2 years, the divorce was done, and then he started with the court case against me.
What year was that you divorced?
He was upset.
What year did you divorce?
1995.
Okay.
And I went away. I stayed there because then he every time did come back and, oh, I'm sorry, I don't want you to hurt you, and I don't want to hurt or to see the children, or don't want the children to see me this way, and stay with me. So I went away in 1996, 1.5 years after the divorce was done official.
Did you ever tell him that you were going to tell other people that you thought he was abusing the children?
At that time I
You
didn't.
think
No,
that?
I didn't
Okay.
think it. I only found his reaction strange. But my whole family is strange. I'm used to such. Yeah, I'm not used to normal people.
Whoever they are. When I meet some normal people,
But with him it was always strange. And my father, after the divorce, or before the divorce, after the divorce, my husband, or my ex-husband, threatened me with he would make a court case against me to get the children to his side or in his house. And I phoned with my father. I thought he was my friend, so I phoned him and asked him, "Can you not help him?" Or I told him that Geert was thinking about a court case, and he said, "Is he crazy? He should not do it." And I will talk with him. And after a month, I got the papers from the court case that he had done it. And then I phoned with my father. "What have you didn't do what you said you would do." He said, "I didn't say anything. I don't know anything." As if it was so, and it was very confusing.
and you began to wake up to what was happening by this and other things, or how did you
No,
begin to?
since Carmen. Since, and that's 1.5 years after, I always thought there was the divorce. We have been undercover for 1.5 years with. After the divorce, I was living in the township, and the farm from my ex-husband was 2 kilometers out of it. Then, and I would like to go to Spain because Dr. Hahn from German medicine lived there, to go far away, to be with friends together, to help each other, and that was what he would not like me to do. So, and when the whole thing was arranged, that when he thought I would stay there, then I was in silence arranging my things for Spain. But I think my phone was listened because I was the one in Holland who was working very near to Dr. Hamer. And because in June 1997, suddenly a man was with my neighbors, and he came from Spain, he told them, and he was looking for a woman because he had no woman, and he has lost his his daughter from 27 years old, suddenly died on cancer, and he was now arranging the things after the funeral. And so my neighbor wife did come to me and said, Toos, is it not a person for you to probably, if you would like to go there? And then he came to me and we talked, and I thought, if I would go away, I have praying so much, I thought it was my help from above, but it wasn't. He, after a few weeks, we got a relationship, and Carmen is his daughter. We went away to the south of Holland because my ex-husband became aware that I had a new relationship and probably would go to Spain. We asked the school if we could have holiday a few weeks or 2 weeks earlier, and that was not a problem, they said me. So we went to the south of Holland, and when we were there on a camping place, after a few days we came back in the evening, and then the man from the camping place told us there was a certain, I don't know his name any longer, but was informing him or asking the man from the camping place if we were there, and if he was searching for us. I thought, that man, we don't know, so go away. And then we took all our things. We had 2 cars with us and some clothes, and went over the Belgian border, stayed there on a camping place for 1.5 weeks, and then go to Germany, to Czechia, straight to south of Germany, nearby the Hohenschwangau, and then to Belgium back. And in Holland we had to sold our cars because all my money was gone after half a year. And a private investigator has found us after Carmen was born. Carmen was born in Vulpen in the south of Holland. When we were back in Holland, and already we had 1 car sold, and Wim Nijhoff, her father, he was often away, and he had taken a lot of my money because he himself, I think he had not, or he would like me to be without money afterwards. And when the private investigator, he was sent from my sister and the woman who was Geert married with. She was my earlier friend, and after my divorce she married him, and now she's one of the torturing people. It was, if it's not so, then we do it from that way, but my children you should have, and that is because Carmen's father is one of the biggest one in the whole system.
Okay, let me ask you. Oh, sorry.
After the investigator had found us, I phoned the police to get Carmen's father, and he has been in prison. If he has been, there was a court case, but some court cases are not real. They are
Fictitious.
Yeah. So I have to inform myself now it has been a real court case. And after a while, in 1998, or during that undercover, the father from Carmen, he had also sexual abused my eldest daughter. When I became aware of that, I told him to stop it. And 6 years later, my third daughter told me, although I had asked her several times if he abused also her, she refused it. But when she was 12 years old, she told me yes. The last month when we were undercover, he also abused her. So they tried to put that on my guilt. They say I'm guilty for it, that he abused Adam. In 1999, I went to the police to tell the police what Wim Nijhoff had done to my eldest daughter. And that is on paper aangifte.
There were filed charges.
Interval.
No, filed charges.
Files.
The filed charges at the police.
Yeah. The police told me we can try to get it a court case, but I don't know if it has sin, because it's her word against his word, and it will be a very difficult case. And at that time, the children were young. Annemarie was 12 years old and Carmen was a baby. So I had to arrange a lot of things, starting a new life with 5 children alone. And Annemarie also agreed with, let it be this way. It is there with the police. We can always, I have the numbers from the case, we can always take it up and let it be a court case. Marjolein had not told me that she would like to have a court case, so till now it has not been a court case. When the other court case was against him, just after he was in 90, when the private investigator had found us, at that court case I have been spoken to his older daughter, to Wim Nijhoff's older daughter, from whom he had told me she was dead, now she was alive. And he had sold her, or when he played card, she was... Yeah?
So with the betting.
She was a gambling debt.
So the police had weeks to protect her for other men.
Okay.
And now I think that must be also in the police files with the case at that time. From me, could have been a very good court case, but I didn't know it, or if I had known the things I knew now, it would have been gone another way.
Let me ask you, just I think we should finish this off because it's been a very long interview. I want to ask you, you've been through all this abuse and torture as a child, your family's gone through it. What do you think it's really all about in a bigger picture?
To make people
Finished.
break them. Also to keep control over, because I was in the investigations with the Freemasons, to keep control over the more very important people by
In the upper class.
in the upper class, to have things against them and to have pedophiles in that class. If you are grown up, a real grown up does not do those things.
Do you have any questions, Kevin?
What do you want to see happen? What would you like to see happen? Honestly.
to stop it first, and then it's not so easy. It's very difficult. But to the ones who have the control over the whole system to
Over here, have a look at this. Does that look deliberate to you?
Where do you think it happened? Being 2 years.
Carmen was here with three other girls. The other girls are all beaten to death. One is they put petrol on it or burned her.
Gas to burn the body?
No,
No,
when she was alive.
when she was alive, burned.
And one is beaten to death with sticks. And the third one, I don't know at this moment what happened to her. And Carmen, she was very scared. She could not say anything. She was on her knees laying, and after that, there were a lot of. She told that about 20 people here around her. One of them was my father, and one of them was her father. And her father, he raped her afterwards.
Here, on the spot.
And this was, you say 2 years ago?
When she was just 12, it was 2.5 years ago. It was around November,
Yeah.
December 2010.
Autumn.
10.
November 2010.
Wow. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Yeah. What's interesting to see is how this all looks very deliberately laid down, like they're trying to mark something.
Yeah, those are not natural. They're all.
No, they've been aligned.
There.
Did after they died, did she know if they were buried here or somewhere else?
Carmen, she doesn't know. No.
She doesn't remember if they were actually buried here.
But she was bound. First they bound her on a tree or on a stick, I don't know. She was, so she couldn't go away. And she told me that all what happened to her, it doesn't matter anymore because it was too terrible, and she felt also guilty herself that she let such things happen to her, and she had never told me, and normally she told everything to me, and this thing and all the things that did happen to her, she could not tell Mama. It was a very hard time for her. We had to have some tape for her to hold his eyes open, to have to look to what happened in front of him. So he could not close his eyes. They held him in his neck, so he had to stay there, and that was also with two of my other children, Annemarie and Caroline. They were with him. They had to see the same. Yeah, I think we better stop now.
some stills of the ground with the configurations?
Yeah, let me see what I can pick up.
It's really loose.
But when it's dry here, the soil is like this.
Is it? This is normal, right? But it's not. Still.
No, I mean, it's going to be right on surface.
Nope. Curious.
I bet if you get up high, you could probably see some kind of formation on the ground.
If you showed that to her, maybe she'd recognize that.
It's strange that it is here.
Can you take a picture of that with the number on
Yeah,
it?
sure.